Have you ever felt like you weren't good enough in your relationship? It's a question most of us have asked ourselves at some point. That nagging feeling of inadequacy, the self-doubt that creeps in when we least expect it. It's a common struggle, one that can be incredibly damaging, not just to our relationships but to our self-esteem as well. So, why do we feel this way? Often, it's because we're looking for validation from others. We're seeking their approval, their acceptance, their love. But here's the thing, no amount of love or approval from someone else can fill the void of not loving ourselves. This is where the concept of self-love comes in. It's not about being self-centered or selfish. It's about recognizing your worth, acknowledging your strengths, and accepting your weaknesses. It's about treating yourself with kindness and respect, just as you would treat someone you love. Self-love is the key to maintaining healthy relationships. When we love ourselves, we set the standard for how we allow others to treat us. We're more likely to demand respect, to communicate our needs effectively, and to walk away from situations that don't serve us. Self-love also fosters a sense of security and confidence. When we love ourselves, we're less likely to seek validation from others. We're less likely to compare ourselves to others or to feel threatened by their successes. Instead, we're able to celebrate their achievements just as we celebrate our own. But self-love isn't something that happens overnight. It's a journey, a process. It's about taking small, consistent steps towards loving and accepting ourselves every single day. So, if you've ever felt inadequate in your relationship, know that you're not alone, but also know this, you are enough, just as you are. And the more you love and accept yourself, the healthier and more fulfilling your relationships will be. The first step to a flourishing relationship is learning to love oneself. Consider the story of John, a man who felt he was never enough for his partner. John was a man of many talents. He was an accomplished professional, a doting father, and a loyal friend. Yet despite his many achievements, he was continually plagued by a nagging feeling that he was never good enough for his partner Sarah. This feeling stemmed not from Sarah's words or actions but from John's own insecurities. His lack of self-love made him question his worthiness and cast a shadow over his relationship. John's story is not an uncommon one. Many of us often feel inadequate, constantly comparing ourselves to others and finding ourselves lacking. This is a dangerous mindset, not just for our individual well-being, but also for our relationships. For John, his insecurities began to seep into his relationship with Sarah. He would second-guess his actions, overanalyze his words, and constantly worry about whether he was living up to Sarah's expectations. This lack of self-love manifested in various ways. John would often put Sarah's needs before his own, even to his detriment. He would sacrifice his own happiness in the hopes that it would make Sarah love him more. He was always trying to prove his worthiness, always trying to be the perfect partner. But in his quest for perfection, he was losing himself. John's relationship with Sarah began to suffer. The once bright and lively connection they shared started to dim. The problem wasn't that Sarah didn't love John, it was that John didn't love himself. His constant need for validation and approval was draining. It was putting unnecessary pressure on their relationship. Sarah loved John for who he was, not for who he thought he needed to be. Despite the turmoil, John was determined to save his relationship. He sought help, and through therapy, he began to understand the root of his insecurities. He realized that his lack of self-love was not only affecting his relationship with Sarah but also his relationship with himself. He had to learn to love and accept himself before he could truly love and be loved by Sarah. John began to work on himself. He started to recognize his worth and celebrate his achievements. He learned to love himself, flaws and all. This journey of self-love wasn't easy. It was a process filled with introspection, self-discovery and growth, but it was a journey worth taking. As John began to love himself, he saw a change in his relationship with Sarah. The tension eased, the connection deepened, and John was finally able to be his true self with Sarah. He no longer felt the need to prove his worthiness, for he knew he was enough just as he was. John's relationship was on the brink of collapse until he learned the vital lesson of self-love. His story is a powerful reminder that self-love is not an act of selfishness. It's a necessary foundation for healthy relationships. Because when we love ourselves, we're better able to love others, not out of desperation for validation but out of genuine love and respect. So how did John turn things around? How did he learn to love himself? This is the question that has probably been floating around in your mind. The first step in John's journey was acknowledging that he had a problem. He realized that he was constantly seeking validation from others, and it was affecting his mental health. he decided to take the brave step of seeking therapy. His therapist helped him understand that self-love isn't a destination, but a journey, one that requires daily commitment and effort. John began by setting aside time each day for self-care. It wasn't always easy, especially on the days when he felt low. But he pushed through, understanding that taking care of his physical health was a key aspect of self-love. He started with small changes: a healthier diet, regular exercise, getting enough sleep. These may seem like basic necessities, but for John, they were acts of self-love. Next, John worked on setting personal boundaries. This was perhaps the hardest part of his journey. He had to learn to say no, to put his needs first, and not feel guilty about it. He realized that setting boundaries wasn't about being selfish, it was about respecting himself. Therapy also taught John the importance of self-talk. He learned to catch his negative thoughts and replace them with positive ones. This took a lot of practice, but over time, he noticed a shift in his mindset. John also found solace in journaling. Writing his thoughts and feelings down helped him process his emotions better. He wrote about his fears, his dreams, his struggles, and his victories. This was a safe space where he could be completely honest with himself. John's journey to self-love was not a smooth one. There were days when he stumbled, days when he wanted to give up, but he didn't. He kept going, kept pushing, kept loving himself a little more each day. John's commitment to self-love transformed not only his relationship with himself but also with his partner. His journey is a testament to the power of self-love. A reminder that it's okay to put ourselves first, to love ourselves, because only then can we truly love others. With newfound love for himself, John's relationship took a turn for the better. You see, when John began to love himself, everything around him started to change, especially his relationships. The very first thing that improved was his communication. Before, John would often suppress his feelings, fearing judgment or conflict. But as he learned to love himself, he realized the importance of expressing his thoughts and emotions openly. He understood that his feelings were valid and needed to be heard. Consequently, his conversations became more authentic and meaningful. Self-love also enhanced John's understanding. He no longer projected his insecurities onto others or blamed them for his own unhappiness. Instead, he took ownership of his feelings and actions. This shift in mindset allowed him to empathize more deeply with others, leading to stronger, more harmonious relationships. But perhaps the most significant change was in his overall happiness. John used to rely on others for his happiness, constantly seeking validation and approval. However, once he began to love himself, he found joy within. He no longer needed others to make him happy. He was content and fulfilled on his own. This inner happiness radiated outward, attracting positive energy and nurturing his relationships. John's journey to self-love wasn't easy. It required courage, persistence, and honesty, but the rewards were immense. His relationships flourished. He experienced a deeper connection with his loved ones, filled with mutual respect and admiration. His conversations were no longer marred by self-doubt or insecurity. Instead, they were honest, heartfelt, and full of understanding. In the process, John also became a better partner. He learned to give love without expecting anything in return. He understood that love is about accepting others as they are, not trying to change them. This newfound understanding deepened his relationships and brought him closer to his loved ones. John's story is a testament to the transformative power of self-love in relationships. It reminds us that loving ourselves is not selfish. It's essential. It's the foundation upon which we build healthy, fulfilling relationships. So let's love ourselves, for it's only when we do that we can truly love others. John's journey teaches us some crucial lessons about self-love and relationships. It reminds us that self-love isn't just about pampering oneself or indulging in self-gratification. It's about acknowledging our strengths and weaknesses, accepting ourselves as we are, and striving for personal growth. Through his story, we understood that cultivating self-love is a process. It's not an overnight transformation, but a journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance. It involves setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and practicing self-compassion. And it's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it. And finally, we've seen how self-love directly impacts our relationships. When we love ourselves, we set the standard for how others should treat us. We attract healthier relationships and can give love more freely without losing ourselves in the process. Remember, to love another, you must first learn to love yourself. That's the secret to a lasting relationship.